I offer my respectful obeisances unto all of the Vaishnava Acharyas, unto our spiritual masters, unto Srila Prabhupada, unto Srila Rupa Goswami himself, who is leading all of us Vaishnavas on this path of devotional service. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada would refer to all of us as Rupa Nugas, so that we can all follow in the footsteps of one of the most dearest servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Goswami. So, first and foremost, who is Srila Rupa Goswami? Last time we were together, we spoke about the glories of his brother, Sanatan Goswami. And of course, I thought, okay, we can't talk about Sanatan Goswami without then speaking about Srila Rupa Goswami. It is said that as they would pass through many villages and as they would pass through the places of Vrindavan, even if the people saw one of them, they would just refer to them as Rupa Sanatan, just one name. Even though one was older than the other and they weren't twins, it didn't matter. They were so favorably disposed to these two brothers that they would just refer to them as Rupa Sanatan wherever they went. And it's described that as they went through these villages, the young people, the old people, they would treat them like family members. The older people would embrace them, pat them on the head. Sometimes, come, sit on my lap. And they'd feel a little uncomfortable because who does this with the older members of the family? But it didn't matter. They had so much love in their hearts for them. And so Srila Prabhupada writes within the preface to the Nectar of Instruction, the Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas or Bengali Vaishnavas are mostly followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of whom the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan are direct disciples. Therefore, Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, when I am eager to understand the literature given by the Goswamis, then I shall be able to understand the transcendental loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in order to bestow upon human society the benediction of the science of Krishna. The most exalted of all the activities of Lord Krishna are his pastimes with the gopis. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the mood of Srimati Radharani, the best of the gopis. Therefore, to understand the mission of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and follow in his footsteps, one must very seriously follow in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis, Sri Rupa, Sanatan, Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopal Bhatta, and Das Raghunath. So it's described that Srila Rupa Goswami is none other than Rupa Manjari, one of the closest associates to Srimati Radharani. They're with her all the time. It's often pointed out that the older Sakis, they would love Radha and Krishna equally. They would be equally disposed, even if they were serving Srimati Radharani. Even if Radha Govinda were having arguments, they would help Srimati Radharani. Sometimes they would even condemn Krishna on behalf of Srimati Radharani, but they would often love Radha Krishna equally. But the Manjaris, they were younger. And they were so much serving Srimati Radharani that they were just engaged in Radha's service. They were just on her side, knowing nothing else but her. Thinking, okay, this Krishna might be there. Doesn't matter. But we only know Srimati Radhika. And we hear from statements within Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna book that sometimes these young girls were not even allowed out to see Krishna because their parents would think he's too charming. We've heard so much about this Krishna. Better that they're not even allowed to see him so much. So they would just be engaged in the service of Srimati Radharani. These are the Manjaris, headed by Sri Rupa Manjari. So in this way, Rupa Manjari, Srila Rupa Goswami, has become so dear to the Vaishnavas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would often ask, how is it that you know my mind so well? How is it that you know and you can express the innermost core of my heart so well. He would praise Srila Rupa Goswami and his writings in this way, lovingly embracing him. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that as Srila Rupa Goswami would write invocation verses to his different plays and his different literatures, it says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after reading one, went into ecstasy, and Srila Rupa Goswami had gone to take his bath. And when he arrived back, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lovingly, mildly slapped him and said, "How is it that you understand me so well?" And then he embraced him. So we see the intimate, loving exchanges between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Rupa Goswami. And in this way, the second generation of the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of which Narottam Das Thakur was such a crest jewel among them, they found such solace, such love, such an outpouring of the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within the writings of Srila Rupa Goswami. And as such, in his song, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, Narottam Das Thakur has written, "The lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari are my treasure, my devotional service, and my object of worship. They give my life meaning, and they're the life of my life. They're the perfection of rasa, and they're the perfection worthy of attainment. They are the very law of the Vedic scriptures for me. They are the meaning of all of my fasts and penances and my silent uttering of my mantras. They are the basis of religion and activities. By the purifying process of favorable devotional service, one will attain perfection, and with these two eyes be able to see. His transcendental form is shining like moonlight in my heart, and my heart therefore shines and reciprocates. In other words, the ordinary moon lights up the night, and its shine illuminates other objects, but the moon of the effulgence of the form of Sri Rupa Manjari shines into the heart and makes the heart also shine back to the spiritual sky. This moon shines not only in the nighttime, but day and night. Your absence from my vision is like a dose of strong poison, and I will suffer till the end of my life." Narottam Das Thakur says, "Please give me your mercy and the shade of your lotus feet." This is the power of Srila Rupa Goswami and the power of his writings and how he revealed the glorious pastimes of Shri Shri Radha Govinda in works like Lalita Madhava, Vigdagda Madhava, Upadeshamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We've gotten such a wealth of knowledge of the treasure of devotional service, which was given to Srila Rupa Goswami by none other than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami were given 4 tasks. 1, to uncover Sri Krishna's lost pastime places. 2, to install deities and start puja. 3, to write bhakti shastras. And 4, to propagate the rules of bhakti yoga, which of course we know, with the nectar of instruction and the nectar of devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami did a wonderful job. And then of course we have Srila Sanatana Goswami, who gave Hari Bhakti Vilas, a treasure trove, delineating so many areas of devotional service and deity worship itself. We have our Archana Padhatis, and we have our rules of deity worship, and all of this is due to these 6 Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. What to speak of uncovering the pastime places and speaking and writing about the pastime places. And all of these beautiful, we have the tax pastimes of Srila Radha Krishna. We have the pearl pastimes of Srila Radha Krishna. We have the boat pastimes of Radha and Krishna. All of these pastimes were given to us by the 6 Goswamis. What would we do without our 6 Goswamis? What would we do without the nectar of devotion, which gives so many of the qualities of Sri Krishna, how Sri Krishna is magnanimous, how Krishna is chivalrous, how he is charitable, how he is shy, how he is humorous, how we can relate to Krishna in so many different loving relationships, how we can know what is our relationship to Krishna, what is that sambandha, what is the abhideya. Srila Rupa Goswami was the one to uncover the deity of Govinda Dev, quite partial to my own heart. But without him, we wouldn't have the deity of Srila Rupa Goswami, the deity of Govinda Dev himself, which he gave his life and soul and established the glorious worship in such a wondrous way. And so we hear many, many times of beautiful pastimes that were enacted between Srila Rupa Goswami and even Radha Krishna themselves. Within the science of self-realization, Srila Prabhupada tells the story of how Srila Rupa Goswami was visited by Srimati Radharani herself. So he says that there's a nice example in the life of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami and his brother Sanatan Goswami were living separately in Vrindavan and going on with their bhajan, devotional service. Rupa was living in the forest, and there was no facility for cooking nice food or begging from the village for a chapati to eat. They would often sleep under a different tree every night. Sometimes, if they were engaged in writing, they wouldn't sleep at all. Sometimes they would sleep only 1 hour or an hour and a half, but sometimes they just wouldn't sleep. This to me was the real meaning of renunciation. Sometimes instead of thinking as renunciation as giving up all of these things that we're so attached to, I started thinking, what if real renunciation is being so engaged and engrossed in our spiritual bhajan, in our activities, whatever that spiritual devotional service is that gives us so much joy, whether it's writing, whether it's garland making, whether it's worshiping the deity, whether it's deity carving, whether it's art, music, whatever it is, being so engrossed in that deity service that we just somehow forget everything else. What a renunciation that would be. Instead of constantly thinking, oh, I have to give up so much for Krishna, now being so engrossed in thinking about, am I carving this deity the right way? Can I write for Krishna the right way? Can I research for Krishna the right way? That somehow we just forget that sleep is there. We forget the passage of time. This is the lesson of the 6 Goswamis. So sometimes they wouldn't sleep, being so caught up in the writings of giving these pastimes, exhibiting the wonderful drama of Radha Krishna Leela. So sometimes they wouldn't have a place to eat. They wouldn't even have a place to go begging. Rupa Goswami was the younger brother, and he thought, if I could get some foodstuffs, then I could prepare nice dishes and offer them to Krishna and invite my elder brother, who was his life and soul. He considered him his very own guru. Even though he left the service of the Nawab first. He was the one who helped Srila Sanatan Goswami escape the Nawab service and escape the jailkeeper with his boatload of money that we expressed and explained about before. But he considered that my elder brother is my life and soul. He is my absolute guru. I owe everything to him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is only giving me his mercy because I have my elder brother. What a bond. What a glorious bond. So he thought, if I had these dishes, if I had something, I could offer them to Krishna, and then I could invite my elder brother. He had that desire, and the next moment, a nice girl, about 12 years old, came and delivered an abundance of foodstuff, milk, flour, ghee, etc. That is the Vedic system. Sometimes householders present foodstuffs to mendicants and sages in the renounced order of life. Rupa Goswami was very glad that Krishna had sent so many things and that he could now prepare a feast. He prepared a feast and then invited his elder brother. When Sanatana Goswami came, he was astonished. How have you secured such things? You have prepared such a nice feast in the forest. How is this possible? Because not only did she supply everything for him to cook, she supplied everything for him to cook with. Pots, buy everything. So Rupa Goswami explained, in the morning I desired for it, and by chance Krishna sent me all these things. A nice girl came and she offered it to me. He was describing the girl and her attributes, her form, her characteristics, and he said, a very nice girl. Then Sanatan said, this nice girl is Radharani. You have taken service from Radharani, Lord Krishna's eternal consort. It is a great blunder. This is their philosophy. They would never accept service from the Lord. They simply wanted to render service to the Lord. And then Srila Prabhupada gives us such a beautiful benediction. But Krishna is so clever that he always wants to serve his devotee. He looks for an opportunity to serve his devotee. This is spiritual competition. A pure devotee does not want anything from Krishna. He simply wants to serve him. And Krishna also looks for the opportunity to serve his devotee. Krishna is always as anxious to please his devotee as the devotee is to please him. This is the transcendental world. On the absolute plane, there is no exploitation. Everyone wants to serve. No one wants to take service. In the transcendental world, everyone wants to give service. You want to give service to me, and I want to give service to you. This is such a nice attitude. So we see that in the spiritual world, we are often advised. Pure devotees never want to ask Krishna for anything. And sometimes we can wonder, then what happens to us? What happens to the devotees? Is it just that they give everything to Krishna and then their needs are not met? But now we see that Krishna is as anxious to serve his devotees as his devotees are to serve him. So no one is ever left out. No one is ever left on the side. It is often said that Srimati Radharani, in her causeless mercy, she is so grateful to her Sakis that they have performed the meeting ceremony, that they have arranged the meeting between Radha and Krishna, that she then takes them by the hand, decorates their own kunjas, and says, now you speak to Krishna personally. Now you should have a separate time just to meet with Krishna. Tell him your heart. This is our goddess. This is the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is our spiritual mood, that in the spiritual world, everyone is trying to give service, which means no one is left behind. No one is forgotten. No one is left out. And I found this such a hopeful attitude, such a boost for my spiritual life, such a boost for wanting to give service. Because the more that we want to serve Krishna, then it turns out that the more Krishna wants to find us and then somehow fulfill all of our heart's desires, even if we just express them to him in our minds. So this is the example that we are taught by Srila Rupa Goswami. Even if he didn't even ask out loud, even if he just thought it, and even if he got chastised by his older brother for it, it never stopped the divine couple from running to him, just wanting to give something. This is how much their hearts overflowed with love for Srila Rupa Goswami. So he would do the 4 tasks that he was set out to accomplish by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there was one thing that he wasn't able to accomplish. He couldn't find the deity of Govindaji. So he searched and searched. He searched all throughout Vrindavan for the deity of Govindaji. It says that he even searched within the Brijbasis' homes, going door to door, looking for the deity of Govindaji. He had heard from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself that this deity existed. And so he thought, I must find him. And so he searched door to door, and finally he felt so discouraged that he sat on the bank of the Jamuna. And he thought, what can I do? What else can I give? And he looked so dejected. And at that moment, a young boy appeared. Beautiful young boy. He had all good characteristics. He was calm, respectful, often quiet, charming looking, with a beautiful face, lotus eyes, looking just like a cowherd boy. And he came to Srila Rupa Goswami and he said, my dear sir, why do you look so sad? And Rupa Goswami looked at him and he thought, what a beautiful young boy. I can't quite understand and I can't quite explain it, but something tells me that I want to express my heart to this boy. I want to tell him all my problems. And so he began to tell the young boy, I've been deputed to excavate the lost places of Vrindavan. I've been deputed to establish deity worship. I've been deputed to write literatures on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And I've been able to do all of the things that I set out to do, except I couldn't find the deity of Govindaji. My Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told me that this deity is here and that I should uncover it, but I can't find it. And so now I feel like my life is kind of forfeit. And the young boy smiled. And he said, well, don't worry. Don't be in anxiety. I know where this deity is. I can tell you. And Rupa Goswami thought, this young boy has the answer to all of my problems. The young boy said, look, if you look across the river at Gomati Hill, every day a cow comes and willingly, without being milked, she pours her milk onto that Gomati Hill, because underneath there is the deity of Govindaji. He's just waiting for you to uncover him. And he's living off of the milk of this cow. Look, don't worry. Even if you think I don't know how to get there, just take my hand. I'll lead you there. This small boy took the hand of Srila Rupa Goswami and led him to Gomati Hill. And as soon as they reached Gomati Hill, the boy disappeared. And when the boy disappeared, Srila Rupa Goswami understood, wait, that boy was none other than my Govindaji. He arrived just to lead me to him. And I still didn't offer him any service. I'm still making the same mistakes. Somehow I took service from the Lord and didn't give him any service. And thinking in this way, Srila Rupa Goswami fell unconscious. And it says he stayed unconscious for some time, but finally he came back to external consciousness. And when he did, he thought, well, now I have a job to do. And so he gathered up as many people as he could, and soon more and more people started to arrive there. And this is reminiscent of the story of Madhavendra Puri uncovering the Gopal deity. And so many people arrived there, and he said, Govindaji he's lying underneath this Gomati hill. We have to uncover him. And so the townspeople, they came with all of their shovels, machetes, etc. And they dug and they dug and they dug. And finally, they uncovered the deity of Sri Govinda Dev. And it is said that when they uncovered this deity, all of them began to chant, Sri Govinda Dev Ji Ki Jai. They uncovered the beautiful deity that Srila Rupa Goswami would give his life and service to. And so, Srila Rupa Goswami established the worship of Sri Sri Radha Govinda Dev, which is now still to this day lovingly being established not just in Jaipur, not just in Vrindavan, but even in New York, thanks to Srila Prabhupada himself. We have the treasure of Srila Rupa Goswami. Everywhere we look, Srila Prabhupada came to establish and reestablish again and again, just like the 6 Goswamis all rolled into one, excavating lost pastime places of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna, establishing new pastime places of Shri Shri Radha Govinda, giving to us Bhakti Shastras, giving to us the science of Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami, teaching us how we can actively, simple-heartedly, sincerely cry for Krishna. And if we can't cry for Krishna, then crying because we can't cry for Krishna. Crying because, okay, we're just like children and we are problem children and we need lots of help. Crying because, oh mother, I need help, I can't reach. Crying because we have our bhakti creeper explaining to us first and foremost that we have a bhakti creeper and that bhakti creeper needs protection and that we also need to protect the bhakti creeper from so many different things. We are just like a gardener, but we can't do it alone. And our good fortune is that we don't have to do it alone, ever. He has given us the 6 Goswamis. He has given us our Acharyas. He has given us Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. He's given us a whole family and an ancestry full of Vaishnavas willing and ready to help us at a moment's notice. All we have to do is call out for help. So we might not be able to cry for Krishna, but that we can do. Calling out for help, we can do. It becomes so simple. And it just becomes as simple as recognizing our own deficiencies. That's something. That's something we can do. Recognizing our own deficiencies, that we've been given the treasure of the holy name, and yet somehow we find something else to do. But what does Narottam Das Thakur say? Those 2 lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, they're the basis of my fasts. They are the basis of my penance. They are my devotional service. They are my religious observance. We can take the lotus feet of these Vaishnava Acharyas as our anchor to help remind us. And Srila Rupa Goswami himself has written in his own songs within the book Stavamala, the garland of hymns. He writes, O Harinam, the tips of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly being worshipped by the glowing radiance emanating from the string of gems known as the Upanishads, the crown jewels of all the Vedas. You are eternally adored by liberated souls such as Narada and Shukadev. O Harinam, I take complete shelter of you. O Harinam, O names sung by the sages, O transcendental syllables that bring bliss to the people. Even if you are spoken only once, and even if you are spoken disrespectfully, you at once remove the many harsh sufferings of everyone. O Son of the holy name, even the dim light of your early dawn Namabhas devours the power of the darkness of the material world and gives those who are blind to the truth the insight to follow the path of pure devotion to Krishna. What learned person in this world can possibly fully describe your transcendental glories? O holy name, the Vedas declare that although meditation on impersonal Brahman cannot bring freedom from past karma, Your appearance on the tongue of your chanter at once makes all karma disappear. O holy name, I pray that my love for you in your many forms, such as Agadamana, crusher of Agasura, Yashoda Nandan, son of Yashoda, Nanda Sunu, son of Nanda, Kamala Nayana, lotus-eyed, Gopi Chandra, the moon of the gopis, Vrindavanendra, king of Vrindavan, Pranata Karuna, merciful to the surrendered souls, and Krishna may greatly increase. O holy name, you are manifested in two forms. One, the supreme person described by the holy name, and two, the sound vibration of the holy name. We know that the second form is even more merciful than the first, because although a person may commit many offenses to your first form, he will still plunge into an ocean of bliss by serving your second form with his voice. The holy name itself is even more merciful than the supreme person, Sri Krishna. O perfect and complete holy name of Lord Krishna, you are the embodiment of delightful and intense spiritual bliss. You destroy the many sufferings of those who take shelter of you, and you are a festival of happiness for Gokula. I bow down before you again and again. O Krishna Nam, O inspiration of Narada's Veena, you are full of sweetness, which is like an ocean full of waves of nectar. If you wish, please appear constantly on my tongue, along with transcendental affection for the Lord. And so we hear Srila Rupa Goswami often says that when the holy name of the Lord enters in through the ears and enters the courtyard of the heart and then arises on the tongue, I wish to have millions of ears and thousands and millions of tongues to be able to chant more and more constantly and constantly, over and over and over again, the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the glory of Srila Rupa Goswami. He has given to us the treasure of chanting the holy name, which, interestingly enough, as writing all of the Bhakti Shastras, writing all of Nectar of Devotion, giving so many points of instruction, it all comes down to the essence of the holy name. The essence of the holy name as worship of Sri Govindaji himself. This is what we have. Over and above everything else, it all comes down to simply the holy name. Taking shelter of the holy name, the tips of the toes of which are worshipped by all other Vedas and Upanishads. This is how Srila Prabhupada gave us everything. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would often say that everything was in Srila Prabhupada's books. He would preach strongly. He would preach longly, often giving lectures for 2, 3, 4 hours and showing no signs of tiring. But he said he would preach this way to show that everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. He would say that the ocean, there are jewels within the ocean of the holy name, but you have to dive deep to find them. Diving deeper and deeper within the ocean of the holy name, so many jewels about Radha Govinda will appear. They will make themselves known to us. They will reveal themselves to us, just the same way that Shri Radha Govinda personally revealed themselves to Srila Rupa Goswami. All we have to have is heartfelt sincerity and desire. And then we pray for the rest. Krishna, you preserve what I have and carry what I lack. Well, I lack a lot, so I'm going to need you to preserve what little bit there is and then carry the rest. Carry us all. Carry everything that I'm lacking. And then somehow bless me with affection for you. Sachinandan Maharaj says that the holy name, and he quotes Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying that the holy name, if our hearts are not clean, the holy name himself will take the humble attitude of a street sweeper and will personally arrive within the heart, clean out the heart for the living entity, and then make a place so that the Lord may come and sit there. How magnanimous is the holy name of Sri Krishna. How wonderful, how merciful is the holy name of Sri Krishna. And in order to get it, our acharyas say, "Oh Vaishnava Thakur, you have Krishna. Therefore you can give Krishna to me. I'm simply running behind you, crying out Krishna, Krishna." That's all. We run behind these Vaishnava Acharyas, we hear their glories, and then we pray. Srila Prabhupada would often sing the Sad Goswami Astakam. We pray. We can pray to our uncles, our grandfathers, our ancestors and say, "Oh, Venerable Vaishnavas, you have Krishna. Krishna is yours. Therefore, you have the power to give him to me. I'm just a beggar. I have nothing. I have one cloth. I'm holding it out. I'm running behind you, just trying to follow, just trying to do a little bit of copycat. If I can just be a parrot and mimic whatever it is that you're saying. You say Krishna, I say Krishna. And in that way, if I can just somehow become a friend to you, you take me under your wing. And in that way, you can give Krishna to me." And because Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, they were so merciful, so kind to everyone. It says within the prayers, they were non-envious, gentle and kind to the ruffians and the nice people. It didn't matter to them. They would still offer you their kindness and their mercy. That means we all have hope. Sometimes New Yorkers can be abrasive and brash and very strong-willed. We have very interesting manners or lack thereof. But this gives us hope. This means we're in the perfect position to get the mercy of Rupa Sanatan, one entity. We can say, we're in a perfect position. We are your people. We are Rupa Nugas. Even if we don't know anything more about Radha Krishna, even if we don't know the inner workings of the conjugal loving mood in the pastimes between Radha and Krishna, we know they're devotees. That's all that's required. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the 6 Goswamis. All glories to our Vaishnava Acharyas who brighten our lives by their example and give us shelter at their lotus feet. Thank you so much. All glories to all of you devotees.